this video session. I remain Samuel Chukwuemeka, aka Sam John Fox. In this video session, we shall continue our study of differential calculus. Under calculus, we are still under differential calculus, and we are going to do power rule. Okay, please, before you continue with this video, it is highly recommended that you view the videos in the playlist on calculus. Please view those videos in order. It is very important. Okay, it is highly recommended that you do so. So when we talk of power rule, of course, in the previous videos we talked about derivatives, okay, and the various ways they can ask you about derivatives. They can ask you find the derivative of y with respect to x, or differentiate y with respect to x, or find y prime, or find f prime of x. Okay, those are all the ways they can ask you about derivatives of functions. So in this case, we're going to do power rule. And in power rule, we say that if y is equal to ax exponent n power, or exponent n, okay, then y prime, of course your y prime is the same thing as f prime of x, or dy dx. We've talked about that in previous videos. So y prime will be n times a times x exponent n minus 1. So you see how it goes. This n here, you bring it times a, because this is a times x raised to power n. That is what it means. This is a times, this is a times x exponent n. And this is what it means. So y prime will now be n times a times x raised to exponent n minus 1. So once you can get it this way, you are good. Seriously, you are good. So y prime will now be n x n minus 1. Okay, so this means that of all the questions we are going to do, we want to put it in exponent form, and then we do it. We put it in exponent form, we do it. That's what we will do. And you see, it will not be a problem. So let's begin, okay? Let's begin. Let's start from here, number 1 here. F of x is equal to 9x exponent 4. See that? So find f prime of x. So f prime of x will be 4 times 9 times x exponent 4 minus 1. You see that? Because once you do it step by step, you will not get it wrong. I know why I'm breaking this down, so that you don't mess up. Okay? 4 minus 1. So you just follow it. So this will be 4 times 9 is what? 36 times x cubed. And that will be what? 36x cubed. That's the answer. That's see that? Number two, you have y to be 7x exponent negative 1. So y prime will be negative 1 here, negative 1 times 7 times x exponent negative 1, negative 1. Minus 1, minus 1. See that? So this will be negative 1 times 7 is what? Negative 7 times x minus 1 is minus 2. And then you join them. This is now minus 7x exponent minus 2. Now, I want to tell you something. I want to say something here. They gave you this in this form. They gave you this in this form, leave it to them in that form. Now, what if they gave you 7 over x? What if they gave you 7 over x? They gave you this in this form, in exponent form, negative exponent form. Leave it to them in negative exponent form. If they give it to you in fraction, then you leave it to them in fraction. They give it to you in this number 2 here. I want to say something about number 2. What if they gave it to you y equal to 7 times, this is x raised to power negative 1. You know that, right? So this is what? 7 times 1 over x. Because when you do exponents, and that reminds me, you will need to view exponents. Anyway, you view those previous videos. We talked about exponents too. So, 7, this is negative exponents. So you need to do that. View exponents, videos on exponents too. So x raised to power negative 1 is 1 over x. So what if they gave you 7 over x? If they give it to you in fraction like this, you don't leave it like this. No, you don't do that. You've got to leave it that this is negative 7 over x squared. That is the way you're going to leave it for them. They give it to you this way, with negative exponent, you leave it like negative exponent. They give it to you this way, fraction, you leave your answer as fraction. Please take note of that. It's very important. Okay? Now let's do number 3. Number 3, you have y equal to 10. So some of you will ask me, I know, they tell you differentiation of any constant is 0. The derivative of any constant is 0. That's fine. How do you know? How do you know? So we want to put this 10 in this form because that is what we are going to do every time. Our problems in power rule, we got to put it in this form. If it is not in this form, we put it in this form so that we can apply it. Okay? And then leave it in the form that they gave it to us. Okay? So how do you put this in this form? This means y equal to 10 times x naught. X raised to power 0. In laws of exponents, anything raised to exponent 0 is 1. So you please view my videos on is a playlist on exponents. View it. You need to know the rules of exponents and you won't have problem in power rule. Provided you know the rules of exponent. Power rule. Okay? Then you won't have problem with power rule at all. So because anything raised to exponent 0 is 1. So this could be said as 10 times x exponent 0. And then y prime, or you can say the y dx is the same thing. The y dx will now be 0 times 10 times x, 0 minus 1. Okay? But anyway, 0 times anything at all is what? 0 times anything is what? 0. So you don't need to bother with that. So that is why we say that differentiation, the derivative of any constant is 0. That's why we say that. Derivative of any constant, the derivative of any constant is 0. Because of that we put it. Okay? Question 4, 2 over x. So you see, in this case, they gave it to us in fraction. So our answer must be in fraction because they gave it to us in fraction. Okay? So let's go ahead and do it. Let me go ahead and erase this. So question 4, we we have that h of x is equal to 2 over x. But before we solve this, we must put it in any power rule. You have to put it in that form. Oh, he can, man. Put it in that form. I just put my language. Okay, so we have to put it in this form first. Then, what we have done, we have to put it back in the form of fraction. That is what we do. So this is h of x is equal to 2 times 1 over x. I'm breaking this down. I'm breaking it down to show you. But if you know exponents already, you will know where I'm going. So h of x is 2 times x exponent 1. Because when we did exponents, negative exponents is the reciprocal of the corresponding positive exponent. A base with a negative exponent is the reciprocal of the same base with the corresponding positive exponent, and vice versa. Vice versa. Okay, so this is that h prime of x will now be negative 1 times 2 times x, negative 1, negative 1. Negative 1 times 2 is what? Negative 2. I'm just breaking it down so you see how we do it. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 times x minus 1 is minus 2. You don't leave it here. No. They gave it to you as a fraction. You've got to give it back to them as a fraction. So this will be negative 2 times 1 over x squared. Therefore, this is negative 2 over x squared. H prime of x. Negative 2 over x squared. Does it make sense? Do you understand what I've done so far? Okay? Alright? Let's finish up the other questions. We will do 20 problems. We'll do 20 problems. So after doing this 8, I'm going to pause the video and then I write the rest of the 12 and then we finish it. At least I want us to do at least 20 problems so that you are familiar with it. Okay? I would want you to pause this video and then try to do it on your own first before you now check. You check whether you got it right. Okay? Number 5, you have that g of x is negative 2 over x cubed. So this is what? Negative 2 times x exponent negative 3. That is what it means. Because this is negative 2 times 1 over x cubed. If you want me to show my work very well, this will be negative 2 times 1 over x cubed. You see that? So this is negative 2 times x exponent negative 3. Because this 1 over x cubed means x exponent negative 3. So g prime of x will be, or you can say the g dx. You can also say the g dx. The g dx, or g prime of x. Okay? The y dx, the g dx. Okay? It will be negative 3 times negative 2 times x, negative 3, negative 1. Negative 3 minus 1. So this will be negative 3 times negative 2 is what? 6 times x, negative 4, which is 6 times 1 over, because they gave it to us in fractions. We've got to give it to them in fraction. 1 over x exponent 4. And this will give you 6 over x exponent 4. That is it. Does it make sense? Does that make sense? Okay? So please, you have taken this down so that I can use this space Power rule, power rule, power rule. You just gotta practice. I would like you to pause the video, solve it first, then before you now check whether we got the same thing. Question 6. K of x is equal to negative 4x exponent negative 2. So they gave it to us in exponent form. We gone give it back to them in exponent form. We gone give it back to them in exponent form. I'ma give it back to them in exponent. This is speaking as if I have the southern accent. I'm gonna give it back. They gave it to me in exponent form. I'm gonna give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'ma give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'm fixing to give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'm finna give it. Hey, wow, this is 4 ways of saying stuff. Come on now. Mr. C has developed the Southern American accent. I'm going to give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'ma give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'm finna give it back to them in exponent form. Or I'm fixing to give please, let's continue. Don't mind me, my laughter is contagious, don't mind me. Okay, now k prime of x will give us what? K prime of x will give us negative. It's already in exponent form, so we just go ahead and do the power rule. Okay, remember, y(a)(x(n), y prime is n(a)(x(n) minus 1. So negative 2 times negative 4 times x, negative 2, negative 1. See that? So negative 2 times negative 4 is what? 8 times x, negative 3. So that is 8x, negative 3. Okay? Now, it does not mean that if you write 8 over x cubed that you get it wrong. No, it does not mean that. It's just that you have to give it to them in the form that they gave it to you. Okay? Question 7. F of x is x. F of x is x. So find f prime of x. Okay? This means what? X raised to power 1. That's what it means. Which is what? 1. This means like this. This means 1x raised to power 1. I mean, if you want to put it in that form, I'm just breaking it down. Which some of you that know it will say, Mr. C, why are you spending all this time? It's for me to break it down, explain it to some people who probably will not understand it. Okay? So that's why I want them to understand it. That is why I am breaking it down. So f prime of x will be what? F prime of x will be 1 times 1 times x, 1 minus 1. See that? 1 times 1 times x, 1 minus 1. And 1 times 1 is 1 times x, 1 minus 1 is 0. And anything raised to exponent 0 is what? 1. So this is what? 1 times 1, and that is 1. See that? Okay? See that? The next one, now, let me show you a trick. Okay, but if you're still learning this, don't follow my trick. I mean, if you have 1x, the derivative is just 1. You have 2x, derivative will be 2. You have negative 5x, derivative will be negative 5. Anytime you have something in front of x that is a constant, and you're asked to find the derivative will be that constant. Okay, but if you're still learning this, please take the extra step and do it this way. Okay? By the time you now do so many of it and master it, you can even discover the trick yourself. That means you're learning. Okay? That means you're learning. All right, number 8. Number 8, we have y equal to negative 3x squared. So what would this be? Find the y dx. The y dx will be 2 times negative 3 times x 2 minus 1. Okay? Which is 2 times negative 3 is what? Negative 6 times x 2 minus 1 is what? 1. So this will be negative 6 times x, and this is negative 6x. See that? Negative 6x. Okay? By the time with time you can easily see this and say, but just practice it now. For now, practice it. Okay, question 9. Question 9. Let me erase this. Question 9, I wrote it down somewhere. M of x equal to negative 1 over x. Okay? Negative 1 over x. So they gave it to us in fraction. We have to put it in this form first. Okay? So this means what? Negative 1 x negative 1. You see that? Because if you're confused immediately why I did it, let me show you this step. This is equal to negative 1 times 1 over x. You see that? Which is negative 1 times x exponent negative 1. Remember, we want to put it in that form. And we have done it. Okay? Remember, this is a times x exponent n. And then this is n times a times x exponent n minus 1. And then you join it. Okay? So m prime of x will be negative 1 times x minus 1 minus 1. Minus 1 and negative 1 is the same thing. We did that in the previous video. Add and subtract integers. Okay? Negative 1 times x, negative 1, negative 1. So this is negative 1 times negative 1 is what? 1. Times x, negative 1 is negative 2. Okay? They gave it to us in fraction. I'm going to give it back to them in fraction. So this is 1 times 1 over x squared. And that will give us what? 1 over x squared. That's it. Okay? Does it make sense? Step by step and you get it right. Question 10. We have a n of x equal to square root of x. Okay. Don't be scared. I mean, we did this in exponents. Remember in exponents, the videos we did in exponents, square root of x, fractional exponents. Fractional exponents gives you radicals. Fractional exponents gives you radicals. So it's the same principle we're going to follow here. Okay, n of x is square root of x, which is fractional exponent. We put it in this form. X exponent 1/2. If you want it to be like this form, you put 1x exponent 1/2. You must not, but I am trying to explain it to you so that you can understand. Okay? So n prime of x, or the n dx, or n prime of x will be 1/2 times 1 times x 1/2 minus 1. Okay? And because they gave it to us in radical form, we have to give it back to them in radical form. So this will be 1/2 times 1 is what? 1/2 times x 1/2 minus 1. Of course, you do fractions. 1/2 minus 1 is what? Fractions. 1/2 minus 1. Okay, this is 1/2 minus 2/2, which is 1 minus 2/2, which is minus 1/2. Okay? Fractions is important. Negative 1/2. So this will be 1/2 times, because we want to put this in radical form. Okay? So this is 1/x 1/2. It's a negative exponent, so let's put it in positive exponent. Okay? So this will now be 1/2 times 1/√of x. Because view the videos on exponents, it is very important. So this will give us 1 times 1/2 times square root of x. So this is 1/2 radical x. 1/2 square root of x. This is multiplying fractions. Okay? Question 11. Question 11. Y is negative 10. So like we said, the derivative of any constant is what? 0. But if you want me to express it to show y, to show my work y, this will give us negative 10 times x exponent 0. So y prime will be, or the y dx will be 0 times negative 10 times x 0 minus 1. 0 times anything is what? 0. So it's of no use doing that x raised to power negative 1. 0 times anything at all is 0. Okay? Question 12. Y equal to negative x. Y equal to negative x. So like we said earlier, when you have, because this is like saying negative 1x. I mean, so, and like we have said, well, like we said earlier, if you have any constant as the coefficient of x, okay, in front of the x, then the derivative is just that constant. But let us find out. So this is like saying negative 1x 1, because this x means exponent 1. So the y dx, or y prime, will be 1 times negative 1 times x 1 minus 1. Right? So this is equal to 1 times negative 1 is negative 1 times x exponent 0. And anything raised to exponent 0 is what? 1. So this will be negative 1 times 1, and that is what? Negative 1. So, but like we said earlier, if you have 100x, if the function is 100x, the derivative with respect to x is 100. If a function is negative 20x, then the derivative with respect to x is negative 20. If a function is 5p, then the derivative with respect to p, folks, derivative with respect to p, because it's 5p, so the derivative with respect to p is 5. Okay? If y is equal to 5p, then you talk about the y in the p, and that will give you 5. Okay, but if you are still learning this, don't take it as a rule. I want you to discover it yourself. Okay, if you are still learning this, it's better you solve it this way. You know, break it down, show your work, solve it this way. Okay? 8 more questions before we call it a night. Question 13. B of x equal to 5 over x exponent 4. So let's put it this way. Let's put it in exponent form. So b of x will be 5 times 1 over x exponent 4. And that is 5 times x exponent negative 4. You see what I just did now? Okay? So b prime of x, or the b dx, will be negative 4 times 5 times x minus 4 minus 1. Okay? So that will be negative 20 times x exponent negative 5. They gave it to you in fraction. You gone, give it to them in fraction. So this will be negative 20 times 1 over x5. And that is what? Negative 20 over x exponent 5. Okay? See that? Question 14. I hope this is making meaning. I hope so. Okay? Like I said initially, calculus should not be difficult once Mr. C is here. Okay? God gave me the talent, and I will use that talent to the glory of God. Okay? Question 14. C of x is 7 over square root of x. C of x is 7 over square root of x. Okay. So we have to put it in this form, in exponent form. So this means 7 over x exponent half. You see what I'm doing? C of x will now be 7 times x exponent negative half. Because this is 7 times 1 over x exponent half. If I'm kind of showing my work step by step. See that? Any question? So c prime of x will be what? C prime of x will be negative 1 half times 7 times x negative 1 half minus 1. The mistake that students make, I tell you the mistake that students make, they always forget this. They forget to do that minus 1, and that becomes a problem when you forget to do it. So this is negative 1 half, minus, always remember to put it, always remember. Okay, so let's solve this. This is 1 half times 7 is, negative 1 half times 7 is negative 7 over 2. Fraction, multiplying fraction, because this is 7 over 1. Okay, then times x, negative 1 half minus 1. Of course, fraction, negative 1 half. You still remember your fraction, so this is negative 1 over 2 minus 2 over 2. So this is negative 1 minus 2 over 2, which is minus 3 over 2. You still remember your fraction. Minus 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2. The fraction you did. Still remember it. So this is negative 3 over 2. But we have to, they gave us this in radical form. We go and give it back to them in radical form. So this will be negative 7 over 2. Don't stop here. You go and give it back to them in radical form. Negative 7 over 2 times 1 over x exponent 3 over 2. See that? This will be negative 7 times 1 over 2 times x exponent 3 over 2. Okay? which will be negative 7 over 2 square root of x cubed. Or negative 7 over 2 square root of x all cubed. This or this will work. Radicals. Remember your radicals. Remember your radicals. And you need to view the videos on exponents. Remember your radicals, that when we say x exponent 3 over 2, it means square root of x all cubed, or it means square root of x cubed. Because if you have this is x 1/2 times 3. Because this is x 1/2 times 3. Okay? And this one is x3 then times 1/2. And everything, if you do any of them, it will give you x3 over 2. But please, you have to leave it in this form. You have to. Okay? Question 15. Question 15. You always want to like take, for this kind of questions, maybe to take a second look, you know, to make sure that you didn't make a mistake on it. You always want to take a second look. But most likely, once you follow these steps to break it down, you should be fine, trust me. I mean, most likely, there is high probability that if you show your work, this is 3 over 2. Okay? I just wrote it well. Yeah. So, there's most likely that if you show your work like this, you will get it right. And I give points for showing your work. So, if at the end of the day you make a slight mistake, you'll still get some points for method. Yeah, even if you don't get the answer right, then you still get some points for method. Now, if you stop here, I will take away some points. You know, you have to stop here or here. Whatever form they give it to you, you have to put your answer in that form. You have to. Okay, you have to put your answer in that form. Okay. Question 15. 5 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After 15, 6 more to go, I mean. 15, you have y equal to 2x exponent negative 0.5. So whether you have fraction, it doesn't matter. You still do it the same way. Okay? Whether you have decimal, I mean, it does not matter. You still do it the same way. So what is the y dx? The y dx will be negative 0.5 times 2 times x, negative 0.5 minus 1. Please remember to put minus 1. So this will be negative 0.5 times 2 will give you what? Negative 1. Okay? Times x, negative 1.5. See that? They gave it to you like this, you have to give it back to them like that. As negative exponent. They gave it to you as negative exponent, you have to give it back to them as negative exponent. So this is just negative x, negative 1.5. Or if you want to put negative 1x, negative 1.5, that is up to you. Negative 1x exponent negative 1.5. That is still okay with me. If you want to do it this way, it's still okay with me. Okay? Although you don't need to, because we don't usually put the 1. But if you put it, that's okay. Question 16. Question 16. We have y equal to negative x exponent 0.5 over 2. Find y prime. Okay, find y prime. Now, first of all, let's put it like this. Please don't be, like you see this and you're thrown off. No. Put it this way. Okay? Put it like this. Let's put it like this first. A times x exponent n. Let's put it like that. Okay? So this will be y equal to, you agree with me that this is negative 1 over 2 times x exponent 0.5. You agree with me that it is that. So this is like your a is negative 1/2 times x and then n is 0.5. Okay? So y prime will be 0.5 times negative 1/2 times x 0.5 minus 1. Okay? Do you see that? Okay? So this will be what? You know that 0.5 is 5 over 10. Okay? 5 over 10 times negative 1 over 2 times x. 0.5 minus 1 is negative 0.5. So this is a negative 5 over 20. I'm trying to do this. I like fractions better than decimal. But I can do it as decimal anyway. So times x exponent negative 0.5. And because they gave it to us like this in exponent form, we have to leave it back to them as exponent form. Okay? Now if you want, you can leave it to them as positive exponent. That means you have to bring this down. But it doesn't matter. Okay? So this is what? Negative 1 over 4. Okay? Negative, which is, this is 0.25 anyway. Okay? Negative 1 over 4. Negative 1 over 4x, negative 0.5, which is what? Negative 0.25 x exponent negative 0.5. You can leave your answer like this. That's fine. If you want, you can still, or if you want, you can say negative 0.25 over x exponent 0.5. That's okay with me if you want to. Okay? Does that make sense? Do you understand? So make sure when you're doing this that you get it right. Okay? If you want to make sure, because I'm not using calculator, so you want to make sure you can still divide it. 4 into 1 would go. You put, of course, 0. You put decimal 10. 4 into 10 is 2. 2 times 4, 8. 2, 8. 10 minus 8, 2. Put 0, 20, 5. Okay? 17, question 17. So just make sure that you're getting your calculations right. Just make sure that you're getting your calculations right. M is equal to 6 over t 1.1. M is equal to 6 over t exponent 1.1. Find the m dt. The m dt. Okay? Like we said earlier on, I mean, everything is not the y dx, no. Okay? We call it the y dx because y is a function of x. But in this case, m is a function of t. M is a function of t. So we say the m dt. If we have k to be a function of g, we say the k dg. So that's the way it works. Okay? View these videos in order, please. View the videos in order. So the m dt, we have to, but first of all, let's put this. Okay? Find the m dt. Let's put this in the form, in exponent form. Let's put this in exponent form first. So m will be 6 times t negative 1.1. See that? So the MDT will be negative 1.1 times 6 times t negative 1.1 minus 1. Okay? So this will be negative 1.1 times 6 is what? Negative 6.6. Negative 6.6. Then times t. Negative 1.1 minus 1 is what? Negative 2.1. Right? So this will be negative 6.6 times 1 over t exponent 2.1. Okay? Because we have to leave it in this form. So this will be negative 6.6 over t exponent 2.1. This becomes yours. That's it. Okay? Does that make sense? 3 more to go. Question 18. Question 18. M is equal to 1 over negative 2.1. M is equal to 1 over n exponent negative 2.8. M equal to 1 over n negative 2.8. Find what? So in this case, m is a function of n. M is a function of n. So find what? The m dn. dm dn. dm. Okay? So let's put this in exponent form. So m will be, this is just n 2.8 right away. See that? Remember we said if you view the videos on exponent, a base with a negative exponent is the reciprocal of the same base with the corresponding positive exponent, and vice versa, which means a base with a positive exponent is the reciprocal of the same base with the corresponding negative exponent. Please view that video on exponents, all of it. It's very important. So the MDN is what? The MDN will be 2.8 times n times, 2.8 times n exponent what? 2.8 minus 1. See that? I mean, if you want to write 1 here, that's up to you. Some people will say, okay, but we are supposed to write something here. If you want to write 1, that's up to you if you want to write 1. But it doesn't matter. I just want you to be able to know 2.8 times n, that. So even if you don't have a, let me write it here. Let me just write it here. Even if you don't have a, that's fine. You still write it well. If you have y equal to x exponent n, then y prime will be n times x exponent n minus 1. If you have y equal to a times x exponent n, then y prime will be n times a times x n minus 1. So don't be fixed, because some students kind of get thrown about because I've been using a. So that is not, it's like, just know that it will still work without that a. Just know that. Okay? And when you join it, you have something like this. So either of this will work. Just know that. Either of this will work. Okay? Alright, so this will be what now, folks? This is what? 2.8 times n. 2.8 minus 1 is what? 1.8. So this is what? 2.8 n exponent 1.8. That becomes your answer. Okay? Now, some of you will say, Mr. C, why don't you leave it in that form? It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. If you want to leave it, this is okay. Because we don't really want negative exponents anyway. But if you want to still leave it in this form, you could say what? You could say 2.8 times 1 over n negative 1.8. And that will now give you what? 2.8 over n negative 1.8. It doesn't matter. So this is okay for me. Okay? So just the same thing here. Doesn't matter. It's okay. This is okay. This is okay. All right. 2 more questions. Question 19. K is equal to m exponent negative 1.3 over 2. Find the KDM. Find the KDM. Find the KDM. Okay? So let's put it in this form, exponent form. Let's do that. So this will be K equal to 1 over 2 times m negative 1.3. Do you understand what I just did now? Okay? So this will be K, the m will be negative 1.3 times 1 over 2 times m negative 1.3 minus 1. Right? So this will be negative 1.3 over 2 times m negative 2.3. Okay? So this will be negative 1.3 over 2 m negative 2.3. If you leave it this way, I will take it. Or, if you also leave it this way, I will take it. If you say negative 1.3 over 2 times 1 over m 2.3. If you leave it as positive exponent, I'll still take it. So this will be negative 1.3 over 2m exponent 2.3. I'll take it. I'll take this also. Yeah, I'll take it. Okay? Alright. The last but not the least. The last but not the least. Question 20. Come, do you know what question 20 is? Y is equal to sum dom. Y is equal to sum dom. So the Y, the sum dom. The Y, the sum dom is what? The Y, the sum dom is what? Who can tell me this? You know who is sum dom? Sum dom for peace. For peace and not for war. Hey, sum dom for peace. For peace and not for war. So, what's the answer here? Who can tell me? Just say sum dom equal to S. You can say S. Or you can say X. It's just like saying the Y, the S. Or the Y, the X. I mean, come on. So, the Y, the sum dom is what? What will it be? What? It's going to be what? 1. You know that, right? Because this will be 1. This means sum dom exponent 1. So it will be 1 times sum dom exponent 1 minus 1, which is 1 times sum dom exponent 0, which is 1 times 1, which is 1. I mean, just like we did y equal to x. You remember when we did y equal to x? That the y dx is 1. Remember that? Remember that? Does it make sense? Okay. Please, we shall stop here for tonight. There are so many videos that will still